Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to ALO in partnership with our good friends Lumera. As you know, if you've been here for the last 4 weeks, we've been doing a series of webinars surrounding AI. This is the last, and always you always leave the last of best. So this is the last of the webinars. Remember, they're all recorded, so if you've missed them, you can go back and get the recordings. Just get hold of Nikki. So that's secretary@alo.org. This is a Zoom webinar, so if you haven't used Zoom before, just go down to the bottom of your screen. You will see that there's a Q&A button at the bottom. Just click that, and by all means, you can ask our speakers any questions that you have from the webinar. So don't wait to the end, just ask them, and I will then ask the speakers at the end of the meeting. So let's crack on. I'm really looking forward to this particular webinar. So this webinar is going to help you learn where to look for and how to identify potential business opportunities for AI within the life and pensions value chain. This session will provide practical guidance on building a robust business case for AI implementation, including key factors to consider, such as strategic approaches and examples of successful AI-driven initiatives. We have two great speakers today from Lumera. First, I'll introduce you to Bala. Bala Ibrahimani. She is an AI data scientist at Lumera UK. She holds an MSc in data science and has experience applying machine learning techniques in the life and pension market to drive data-driven decisions. She did a dissertation called Exploring the Impact of Machine Learning in Enhancing Personalized Investment, which highlights her research in leveraging AI to optimize investment strategies. Her work at Lumera focuses on developing AI solutions that improve efficiency and customer satisfaction in the insurance sector. And it's a really important area, as we know, about customer satisfaction and obviously efficiency, two really, really important areas that Bala is a specialist in. She will be joined by Konstantinos Meli. He's also an AI data scientist at Lumera UK. He holds an MSc in data science from the City University of London with a background in electronic engineering. He specializes in computer vision and front-end development and is involved in many of the AI solutions that are bringing them to life using front-end expertise. Fantastic that we have you two with us. I think Bala is going to start, so hand over to you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bala Virami, and I'm a data scientist at Lumera UK. I'm also accompanied by my colleague Konstantinos here, who will also be presenting today. We're glad to be back delivering the last talk in the series. Previously, our team covered topics ranging from foundations of AI, generative technologies, ethics in AI, and finally today we'll be tying it all together by seeing how an AI business case is implemented start to end. We'll begin by providing an overview of barriers in identifying and adopting an AI use case, the drivers to adopt AI, and how to spot opportunities for AI within the industry. Following that, we'll break down the AI business case contents to give you a detailed look at the step-by-step process we use once a viable use case is discovered, and also see a practical example from a project we've implemented. So before diving into the potential and drivers for AI in the industry, it's crucial to understand the barriers that currently hinder its adoption. First off, life and pensions industry relies on legacy systems. These systems are often not designed to integrate with modern AI solutions, making it difficult to implement new technologies. The expense and difficulty of upgrading these systems can be overwhelming, and maintaining legacy systems can consume a significant portion of an organization's IT budget, meaning it leaves little to no room for innovation. The second barrier is data management. As we have emphasized on data quality in our earlier sessions, effective AI solutions rely on high quality, well organized data. However, many life and pensions companies struggle with data that is inconsistent or incomplete, despite the fact that the industry generates vast amounts of data from various sources. So, ensuring we have access to data that is clean and accurate poses a challenge in itself. Finally, regulatory compliance poses a major challenge. The life and pensions industry, again, is heavily regulated to protect consumers. And while these regulations are essential, they can also stifle innovation. AI solutions must comply with various laws and guidelines, such as GDPR, which govern data protection and privacy. For example, regulations require that any data used by the AI systems must be handled in a way that ensures privacy and security, which means companies must implement data governance frameworks, which can be complex and costly. They restrict the kind of data that is accessible to us, and that can be used for AI training, which limits the scope of AI applications per se. Now that we've explored the barriers to AI adoption, let's shift our focus to the key drivers that encourage life and pensions providers to embrace AI. First off, hyperautomation. Hyperautomation goes beyond simple automation by integrating multiple advanced technologies such as AI, robotic process automation, machine learning, and to automate complex end-to-end business processes. In this industry, hyperautomation can transform tasks such as in underwriting and claims processing. And future proofing involves adopting technologies and strategies that ensure a company remains relevant and competitive in the face of evolving market trends and emerging trends. For life and pensions providers, future proofing means using AI to stay ahead of the industry changes and customer expectations. And finally, digitalization refers to the process of converting traditional manual processes into digital formats and systems. So these systems together can reduce the time and effort involved in tasks. So now that we've seen the drivers behind adopting AI, here we can see the examples of use cases in each stage in the value chain implemented in the industry. Some cases here are currently implemented industry-wide, while some of them are potential use cases for the future. For example, under asset management, we have churn analysis for life and pensions policies. It involves identifying why policyholders cancel or fail to renew their policies. We can examine data about policy renewals, customer demographics, payment and transaction history, and predict which customers are likely to are likely to stop renewing their insurance policies, which can help in proactively retaining the customers and controlling the churn rate. Similarly, AI chatbots can handle common policy inquiries, providing instant answers to coverage details or premium payments. So these reduce the wait times and enhancing customer satisfaction, thereby increasing the efficiency and workflows. So now, once we land a viable use case to effectively develop and implement an AI business case at Lumera, we follow a 5-step process, which is fact find, deep dive, proof of concept, proof of value, and transition to life. We start by establishing an understanding of current business environment, objective and challenges to define the AI project scope. This initial phase involves collaborating with stakeholders to define a detailed business use case that highlights specific issues or opportunities that AI can address. Once the business use case is defined, we move on to creating a proof of concept pilot. This pilot tests the feasibility of the AI solution, ensuring it meets technical and business requirements. And depending on the project, the proof of concept and proposal plan may be adjusted or repeated as needed. And following the proof of concept, we evaluate the AI solution's effectiveness in a real world setting and assess its integration into existing workflows. Finally, the AI solution is fully deployed with a focus on smooth integration and performance monitoring to ensure successful business adoption. So this structured 5-step approach ensures that the AI solution is well aligned with the business needs and effectively implemented. So to illustrate this workflow, we will reference a project that we've already successfully implemented, which focuses on enhancing the efficiency of claims processing related to death certificates. And the solution involves automating the extraction of information from these certificates thereby streamlining the entire death claims process. So as the initial step, like I mentioned, in our process, we start with fact finding. We begin by establishing a canvas that clarifies the current problem and operational state. In our case, with the insurance company, the core issue revolves around processing of death claims. When a death claim is filed and a payment needs to be processed, they struggled with increasing processing times and manual effort. So when I say manual effort, they were heavily dependent on a limited number of labor, leading to inefficiencies and delays in processing times. So as a result, customers experienced a significant waiting time for payments, which is particularly frustrating during an already difficult period. So to address this, the company could have hired more additional staff to maintain the claim volumes, but this approach would have driven up the operational costs and failed to resolve the underlying inefficiencies anyway. So these combination of factors serves as a need for a more streamlined and automated solution that can increase both operational efficiency and customer satisfaction. So given this fact find, we then delve into a proof of concept. In the proof of concept phase, we begin by defining the specific goals and desired outcomes to set a clear direction of the subsequent steps. Next, we conduct market research and a feasibility study to assess potential solutions and their practicality with the current business context. So this research helps us evaluate our technological options to determine their suitability to the problem at hand. We then proceed to design the AI solution, establishing success criteria to measure the effectiveness of the solution, including performance benchmarks that will serve as a basis for evaluating the solution's impact. So we then proceed to develop a prototype of the solution, allowing us to test and validate its functionality in a controlled environment. And once the prototype is operational, we document the results and present it to the stakeholders and gather their feedback. So this review process helps identify any issues or any areas of improvement for the use case. And finally, we analyze the feedback to make informed decisions. So if the prototype meets the success criteria and demonstrates the potential for scalability, we move forward with developing and deploying a solution on a larger scale. On the other hand, if the results are not favorable, we conclude the findings and wrap up the project, ensuring that any lessons that are learned are documented for future reference. So this is where we conclude the proof of concept, and I will let Konstantinos discuss the next steps.
Thank you, Bala. And now onto the developer side. Before we move into the development of the project, there is a process that we follow to confirm that the project is achievable. And after that research, we then move on to the creation of the product. During the proof of concept phase, due to regulations and GDPR, companies may not share data to protect personal information of their clients. In the case we don't have any information to work with, we then look into open source data that is free to be used online, that follow GDPR regulations with no issues. Now that a POC has been established, we now have a better understanding of the data that we need. We will request the essential data that we needed from the client. The more data, the better the model that we can train can be. Next in line is to create the project architecture of the solution. This depends on what the client has asked for. Did the client just want an API to access the model themselves? Or do we also need to develop a front end for them? This adds extra time to development and can also bring the pricing up. This architecture also includes many steps within the process for functionalities that are connected to the model, but those are a must in any project. These functionalities may include data processing. In the case of death claims, this may be a step to correct the scanned images orientation to be inputted through the model. Afterwards, we calculate the amount of time that it takes to develop such a project, and we give our best estimate for a timeline when this project could be complete. We also calculate the cost for this timeline depending on the hours that we will spend on this project and also the hardware that we will use for the solution. I will get into the specifics of how we calculate the costs in the next slide. After we have done all the calculations possible, we then have to agree on what defines this project as done. Why do we need these? Many times during the development time of the project, there are many additional ideas that come up from clients and or even colleagues. And as ideal as they are, this adds extra time to the development and extends the timeline by quite a lot. Granted, exceptions are made depending on the request, We strive to deliver everything on time, and this requires us to know what exact functionalities are important for us to complete the project on time. Finally, we need to do a cost-benefits analysis, where we check how much a project can improve with the use of AI. Ideally, we want higher efficiency for lower cost. For example, by showcasing to the client how much faster and efficient the process can be. This is done by comparing the efficiency of manual labor workers without the AI tool and with the AI tool. How many death claims can be submitted in an hour, comparing the two. This will take into account the cost for the GPU and the workers paid, dividing the cost per query and with and without AI. Now, let's look at the cost that take to create such an AI business case. We will focus on some technical parts that make up the pricing for the AI solution. Now, I know these are a lot of numbers we are looking at right now, but I promise they will make sense in just a few minutes. We will focus on the GPU tiers and pricing, looking at the advantages of using them with cloud services such as Google Cloud or AWS. Now, let's look at the first table highlighting the cost variations between the different GPU tiers. A GPU to a machine learning engineer is like a turbocharger to a race car driver. It boosts performance and speeds up the journey to the finish line. This is the reason we split the costs in tiers so that we can use a GPU better suited to our use case. Now, there are two ways we can utilize GPUs. We can invest in a few ourselves or utilize the cloud-based solutions online. Depending on which one the developers use, it will affect the pricing. Here, I have three different tiers of GPUs as example that are widely used in the industry. Their costs vary between $2,000 and to $15,000. The higher the cost, the faster your race car will be. But along with that, the higher the electricity bill for the local solutions will be. Now, say for example, we invest in the GPUs ourselves. We will need to take into account the initial cost of the GPUs, then the running cost of the GPUs from our electricity bill, as they are the most power efficient hardware. Along with having these tools, we will need to take into consideration the maintenance, the software updates, and the infrastructure and the cooling solutions as they constantly run hot and will probably need to be in a room that is well ventilated and cooled. There are many other costs that come along with them, where even an IT expert to take care of them properly will be needed. When using a cloud-based solution, though, it is less of a headache as all the costs we talked about are included on the pricing scheme we choose. Usually with cloud solutions, we have on-demand instances, which are pay-as-you-go, where we select how long the instance needs to run, so we can use the GPUs during training period of our models, or even business hours like 9 to 5. This gives us the ability to be highly flexible and can be started or stopped, unlike long-term commitments, which I will talk about now. This reserved instances will involve a commitment for a period of 1 to 3 years. The instance will be available 24/7 and is especially useful for long-running applications. This will obviously be cheaper than on-demand solutions, with the caveat that we are on the commitment period of 1 to 3 years. Cloud-based solutions are ideal for smaller projects, especially when creating proof of concepts. There is a lot of responsibilities with owning your own GPU, and unlike in cloud-based solutions, you need to have alternative solutions in case of any faults happening. Owning these kinds of GPUs is an advantage when creating projects that we know is going to be like long-term and wide enough in scale to be beneficial to us. So it needs to be a very well thought out investment, which benefits a lot in the end. In the costs, we also have pricing of the developers. In this case, the data scientists, and depending on their hourly rates, this will add on to the final cost of the project. If we know the project will need 200 hours of on-hand labor to be created, just for the model creation, it will cost, just for the labor costs, $10,000 to $30,000, depending on who works on it. Monitoring and maintenance, though, is dependent on the product provider's terms within the contract. Each company may do this a bit differently, meaning they may include the pricing of maintenance in the final price, or there is extra charges for that. Now that we have looked at the costs, let's see the examples from one of our AI solutions on how it came to fruition. The case we have been talking about all along, the death claims processing optimization project to read death certificates. Taking into consideration our AI way, during fact-find, we found that the objective of the project was to bring down processing times and costs while bringing up the efficiency using AI. We were able to find that documents had details such as names, coroner's office, and date of death, which the AI model was expected to extract from the certificate. The company was able to provide a small subset of their data in order to stop the initial experimentation for the model creation. During the experimentation process, we were able to notice issues in utilizing these documents. This gave us ideas of functionalities that need to be added in our project architecture, which is for a larger scale. Now, moving on to the AI business case components, the additional data that was given to us after the proof of concept was created is sufficient for us to create the AI model needed and to create the extra functionalities within the project architecture. In our case, we trained the model on a local GPU, keeping the cost quite low. For proof of value, we showcased that our model was much more efficient than what a manual worker would have achieved by themselves in an hour and would in return create a profit for our client. Lastly, for the transition to live, the client has a full use of the model, and if maintenance is needed for any reason, we are able to do so. Finally, the key takeaways from this presentation are: the drivers for identifying a business use case are digitalization, hyper-automation, and process optimization. We also have the AI way, which is a 5-step process at Lumera: fact find, deep dive, proof of concept, proof of value, and the transition to live. In the AI business case content, it's essential to remember that data availability we have from the client and open source sources. Defining the finish line for the project so that the project is delivered on time, and finally, measuring the cost for the client is that we need to choose either a local GPU or cloud-based solution. Which one will be more beneficial for the use case? And finally, the costs for a use case such as this are quite high because of the higher hardware that we use. Thank you for having us. We are now ready to take questions, and if time runs out, please do not hesitate to reach out to us on LinkedIn by scanning our QR codes. Thank you.
Really enjoyed that. It's been quite a complicated session that you've made quite simple, so thank you very much for that. Just a reminder, go to the bottom, click Q&A if you have any questions for our speakers. I mean, just while we're waiting for some questions, out of all those cases that you've seen, guys, you know, where would you spend most of your time in that process, getting it right as far as the business case is concerned? And have you seen, you know, areas where people may trip over because they haven't spent enough time doing part A or part B of the business case? Is there, do I make sense?
Yeah, I'll take it.
I think usually it's more on the initial phases where they try to understand what the objective of the solution or where the problem lies, because I think there might be sometimes a misunderstanding of what is expected and miscommunication of what the solution should look like. So that is where I think most of our focus goes into properly identify what the problem is and defining the solution. Yes.
Thanks for that. And you know, in the examples that you've seen, I mean, you know, thanks very much for laying out the sort of costs. We got any idea of some totals of some of these costs, guys? You know, are we talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands, or are we talking tens of thousands in cases? Because obviously budgets are quite tight these days.
Yeah, I might need to confirm about that, but it does have a wide range depending on the solution, because if we're talking about claims processing, that varies quite a lot, because there's a lot of things we can do for claims processing. It's a quite complicated project.
Yeah.
And it's going to have different, the project architecture for that is going to be massive. So it can range from maybe 50K to upwards and upwards and upwards.
It depends on the plan of the functionalities of the user.
Yeah, depends on the functionality, and also, as I said, depends what the client asks us for, depending if they want just an API or they also want a front-end interface to work with as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, you know, what I'm trying to get out here, you know, could you use some money just to do some small projects, rather than having to do a huge project that is going to cost hundreds and hundreds of £1,000s, because I think some people, they just won't have the budget. So therefore, if they have, you've seen examples where people have put in, for example, something within claims or something within the front end or something from that perspective, then you might get people sort of dipping their toe in the water from an AI business case point of view, rather than diving in at the deep end.
Well, right now we only talked about solutions that are going to be beneficial towards the life and pensions, but also we can't forget that a lot of AI can be used within the company to help make a process more efficient. So there's a lot of cases where we can do that as well, where it's small things, automating them to be faster and like making some things less arduous for your for the people working there.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I don't see any questions in the Q&A, and I probably can understand why, because I think what you've gone through is pretty complex. I know you've done it in a really, really good way. And, like we were speaking beforehand, if it were me who had to put a business case together, I think I would want to go through this presentation and stop at various bits and give it some thought, and maybe take some slide shots and stuff. So thanks very much, both of you. That was really, really good. I wish you every success as well in your careers at Lumera. Right at the end, obviously, we've got on the front here, your email addresses, and that will be on the slide deck if people want to get hold of either yourselves or Lumera themselves. So that actually does end the whole series, and I know both of you have done 2 of them, so you did go above and beyond. But the whole series has been absolutely fantastic, and I think a lot of people that have managed to go through all 5 now really have a very good handle on what AI is, what it can do, what it can't do, how we should handle the ethics part of it, and obviously now how I can get a business case together and get it implemented into my business. And my understanding is the insurance industry is one of the big areas that AI can be very, 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 very efficient in, because we have a lot of free-flowing data, and that's where AI comes into its own. So I'm really pleased with that. There is just one question, and I'm not sure you can answer this one, but I'm sure Nikki will be able to answer it at some stage. There is a question from something else: will these videos be available to download? And that's a great question. That's one for Alo to answer. So we will come back to everyone on this call, because that person is anonymous. So we'll come back and we'll let you know whether you can actually download the videos. I think you probably can, but I am no technical expert. So thank you very much again, team. Really appreciate that. Do thank everybody at Lumera. Fantastic set of 5 webinars. Really, really appreciate that. Just for everybody's benefit, we have another webinar series that is coming up in the autumn. It's looking at doing right by the customer. You'll be very, very aware that our industry has spent a lot of time looking at maybe B2B and less so at B2B2C. So certainly the regulator has turned its focus onto the consumer, the end consumer. So it's a great opportunity for us to start looking at the end consumer and doing more work on that. And again, this is where I think potentially AI and personalization will really, really come home to support what regulation is asking us, whether it's consumer duty, whether it's value for money, and so forth. So thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope it's nice and sunny where you are, and you have a fantastic summer. And I will see you again on our next series of webinars. Thanks very much, everybody.